Hey everyone, and welcome to UK Media Warrior and the finale of Game of Thrones, Season 7, Episode 7, The Dragon and the Wolf. Wow, what an episode. I mean, I've been harsh on this season, and I feel rightfully so, but this finale really gave us pretty much everything we wanted. It tied up some loose ends. It gave us visual spectacle that was just incredible to watch. It gave us intrigue. It was just across the board, almost. I'm going to say almost, because there were a few very small niggling things which annoyed me a little bit, but they compared to the rest of the season, they were very small. So across the board, I'm going to say this was almost a perfect episode. Where to start? I mean, my God, it's. I mean, obviously, let's start off where the episode starts, the Dragon Pits in King's Landing, with Cersei and Dany and Jon and Tyrion, and everyone's there for this big meeting. Dany turns up late on Drogon the dragon and makes an entrance, which is obviously very good. Cersei just looks totally pissed at that. She's probably thinking, why don't I have one of those? I want a dragon. But it doesn't seem to me, the Dany arriving on the dragon doesn't seem to make much of an impact on Cersei other than the fact that it ticks her off. But then the meeting seems to go incredibly well. And it seems to go very smoothly. Dany and Jon and Tyrion get pretty much what they wanted. But then all of a sudden, as you probably figured was going to happen, Cersei puts, a stick in the spokes and throws everything off by saying to Jon, well, I will agree to come to this armistice and to pull back my armies, but as King of the North, you have to agree that you're going to stay in the North and you won't take sides between me and Daenerys. And obviously, as we know from the last episode, Jon has already bent the knee to Dany. So, being the honourable man he is, he says, well, I'm sorry, I can't do that. There was some, like Tyrion said to him, you have to learn to lie sometimes. But then, as Jon replied, if everyone is lying, then words mean nothing, and you will never be able to believe anyone. So, I get where he's coming from. And a lot of people are giving him a lot of stick for being, too honourable, to being too much like Ned, trying to do the right thing. And in this world, if you keep trying to do the right thing, you're going to end up dead, or lose your head, or both. But I've got to give him props to this. I think he did the right thing. I honestly do. And it would have been out of character for him if he had have lied. Because if he had said, yeah, fine, okay, to Cersei, yep, fine, I agree to your terms, I'll stay up north, I won't take sides between you and Daenerys, we know he would be lying. Because we know he's in love with her. So it would have been out of character. Seeing Podrick and Tyrion and Bronn back together was great. It was a bit underwhelming. I mean, they really only said like a few sentences to each other. I was hoping for perhaps something a little bit more than that. But I suppose, what with the conference, the high stakes conference that was going on, they couldn't give them that sort of time. It was a shame. That would have been fun to watch them again. But then we go to the White obviously gets delivered by the Hound and charges for Cersei. And although initially we see her like jump back as anyone would, it doesn't seem to impact her. And as we find out later on in the episode, it seems that she already knew about these things and she had planned for it accordingly. So I think this episode shows how far gone Cersei really is. I mean, she's just off the edge now. She's fallen into the abyss. There's no hope for her. She's gone total psycho. She it's like she said to Jaime later on in the episode. He says, "No, we've got to help the North because once the North falls, we're next." And she's like, "Well, let them fight. Let our enemies destroy each other. We're going to stay here, nice and safe in King's Landing." And it's like she wasn't listening to a word he was saying. She wasn't seeing the big picture. And for a ruler, obviously, that's suicide. But I think Cersei just thinks that these things can't touch her. For some reason, she just seems to think, I'm in charge. I'm the queen. I've got the power. I don't care what's going on anywhere else. Everyone does what I do, or I'll kill them. And that's pretty much it. And she's just so gone now in the head that she's just not thinking straight. And I'm still not convinced that she is pregnant. That bit with Tyrion and her in her, well, in Tywin's old office, you might recognise it as that, where Tyrion and Tywin had that big argument about Tyrion wanting to be the heir to Casterly Rock, and Tywin saying, well, there's no way that's going to happen. But anyway, in that office, and Tyrion and Cersei having that discussion where he's trying to convince her to help the North, to come and help the North. I'm still not convinced she's pregnant. At this point, I am more convinced that it's like a phantom pregnancy, that she's lost all of her kids. She can see that she's losing Jaime, and obviously by the end of this episode she has lost him. I think it's really just her imagination. It's making this phantom pregnancy happen for her. So she might well believe that she's pregnant. I just don't think she is, and I think that if she I mean 50-50, either she's trying to fool everyone and she knew Tyrion would see her hand on her stomach and make the assumption, and that would play into what she wanted, or it's this phantom pregnancy and she honestly feels that she is pregnant even when she's not, and it's working out for her anyway. Tyrion was obviously thinking, well, if she's pregnant, surely she's going to want to protect her kid, so that gives me an edge to get her to help us. And obviously she comes back to the table and she agrees to send her armies north without any... the second she said, I will send my armies north to fight with you without any deals. You guys don't have to give me anything. Out of the, just out of the goodness of my heart, I'm going to send my armies north to help you. The second she said that, I knew that it wasn't going to happen. There's no way Cersei goes from saying, okay, I will join you if Jon stays out of the fight between us, stays in the north, doesn't hurt me at all. She goes from that to saying, fine, I'll send all my armies north to help you out, and you don't have to give me anything. No, that was too much of a switch, and there's no way she would have done that. So the second I heard her say that, then I knew she was up to something. Euron leaving, so basically saying, well, if they can't reach me on the Iron Islands, I'm off. That was in character. I believe that's what he was saying, because yeah, okay, he wants to marry Cersei, but equally he wants to stay alive. And now he has seen proof that these White Walkers exist, that these Whites exist, they're coming. For him to say, well, that's it, I'm out, guys, see you later, that was totally in character for me. So again, later on down the line where Cersei says, no, that was all a ploy, we had this worked out before the meeting, he left, took his fleet to Essos to pick up the Golden Company and bring them back. I was like, well, okay, I mean, it's possible that he doesn't care about these Whites then, and he is more interested in pleasing Cersei and marrying her than he is of staying alive. I don't know. I always thought he was out for number one, but maybe for some reason he isn't. I don't know. We don't really know him that well. It's hard to pin down his character. Equally, although that may have been the deal that him and Cersei made before the meeting, now he has seen these Whites and seen what he's up against and knows that they can't swim or cross water. The deal may well have been for him to take his fleet to Essos and pick up the Gold Company and come back. Who's to say he won't betray her? She's I don't know whether she's given him the gold to take to the Golden Company to buy them. I would assume that's how it works with these mercenaries companies. You pay them, they see the coin, then they join you. I'm pretty sure they don't do a cash on delivery type system. So he may well betray her. It's certainly within his character to do so. Another question, where is Yara? Theon's off with that crew to find Yara, but is she on the Iron Islands or is she on Euron's flagship? If she's on Euron's flagship, he's got to go to Essos to get her, not to the Iron Islands. So he doesn't actually know where she is, and yet he's setting off to find her. But yeah, so that's how the meeting ends. Everyone's happy, wait, Cersei's going to join us and send her armies north to fight with us. Exactly what we wanted. Okay, let's head back to Dragonstone. But talking to Theon on Dragonstone, obviously he starts off arriving on the beach, his crew from, or not his crew, but the crew from that one boat, that one ship that saved him, are about to head off to an island. Smart move, guys. But he gives a rather weak speech, trying to get them on his side. It really, I mean, even I didn't buy it, and I was wanting them to help him, but it was rather weak. And then obviously the captain of the ship beats down on Theon and really just kicks his butt. I mean, there's no competition here. I thought Theon was better than this. Put a sword in his hand, and he may have done a lot better. I mean, we've seen him fight. We saw him fight on the deck of Yara's flagship when Euron turns up. So we know he can fight with a sword. Obviously, he just didn't get into too many pub brawls when he was a kid. And so he doesn't really know how to use his fists that well. But this captain just kicks the shit out of him. And the only reason, the one reason, obviously, that Theon beats the guy is because the captain goes for the old kick him in the family jewels. And obviously, Theon no longer has them. So it doesn't affect him, and then he uses that to headbutt the captain, put him down on the deck, and then just punch the living shit out of him. What got to me a little bit is that the rest of the crew standing there watching the fight saw that Theon was not going to win that fight. There was no way. He was getting the crap kicked out of him by their captain, and they could all see that. And they could all see that the only reason that Theon won was because the captain either didn't know or forgot that Theon had had his genitals cut off by Ramsay Bolton. Any one of those crew could have kicked Theon's butt, and yet, even though he beats the captain by default, really, not through any real skill, but just for the fact the captain made one mistake, they all decide to join him. I mean, I know the Iron Irons rules are, if you're the stronger guy, then we'll follow you. But Theon's obviously not the stronger guy here. So I was a bit surprised that they all said, well, yeah, okay, we'll go and get Yara. I mean, whatever. I mean, it was the outcome I wanted. I want them to go and get Yara. I want to see Theon redeemed, and I want to see Yara live. So it was the result I wanted. I just didn't really buy how it got to the end. So the means didn't, or the ends in this case didn't justify the means that they used to get there. Winterfell. Ooh, wow. I need to make an apology here. All the way over the last couple of weeks, people have been saying, or some people have been saying, Arya and Sansa are planning this. They're working Littlefinger. They're just playing this game with him, and then they're going to take him out. I honestly didn't believe it. I mean, there was really nothing on screen that gave you that. I mean, it was all these people thinking that was just a hopeful, a hopeful theory, hoping that this is what the girls would do. But going from the proof that you saw on screen, you saw Arya coming out of Littlefinger's room with that message, not looking back, not having been able to see Littlefinger hiding in the shadows. So there's no way she would have known that he was watching her. And how would she have known that he had arranged this so that she would find that message? He hid that message so well that nobody should have been able to find it. And Arya, although she's been trained by the Faceless Men to be an assassin, means she is very good at killing people. That doesn't make her very good at being a Machiavellian spy master behind the scenes. That's just not how it works. Equally for Sansa, she has seen a lot of crap in her life, and she has been in King's Landing, and she saw Cersei, and she saw Joffrey, and she's been with Littlefinger. But Littlefinger and Cersei have played the Game of Thrones since they were young, since they were kids. They've got about 20, 30 years maybe, or 20 years, say, on Sansa at playing this game. She has been around some crappy situations, and she has had some terrible things happen to her. But just because you've suffered terrible things doesn't mean you're immediately that good at being, as I say, a Machiavellian spy master like Littlefinger is. The fact that he got upstaged by two young girls is really almost as much of a kick in the bollocks for him as how he got his throat cut by Arya. I mean, I'm not arguing with the outcome. I love the outcome. When I was sitting here watching that and Sansa sort of says, says you're on trial for treason and murder and all this sort of thing, and then she says, how do you answer, Lord Baelish? I was like, yes, that's fantastic. I love that, and it was the one and only time in the entire Game of Thrones that we have seen Littlefinger totally taken aback and flat-footed. He was totally shocked. He didn't know what to say, and from that point on, he was just bailing as fast as he could, and it was obviously not getting him anywhere. But why on earth did he admit that he pushed Lysa through the moon door? Sansa says, I saw you do it. There was nobody else in that room. All he had to say was, well, no, I didn't. Prove it. How can you prove I killed Lysa? You did it. The Lords of the Vale were standing there listening to Sansa, and because he said, well, yes, I did it to protect you, that immediately puts them against him, because they now know that he killed their queen, or their lady, whatever it is, not queen, obviously lady, but their leader, anyway. So him admitting that he killed Lysa instantly puts the Lords of the Vale against him, and that from that point on, even though he denies that he killed, Lord Aaron, who was their lord, what was the point? At that point, he'd already admitted to killing their lady. So the fact that he denied killing their lord is a bit irrelevant. I can only assume that he was taken so off guard by Sansa accusing him of treason and murder that for a few seconds there, he just wasn't on game and he just screwed up. And obviously, as I say, from that point on, it was all downhill from him until he ends up on his knees, whimpering, begging for his life. And Arya just ends it, and that's how Littlefinger goes out. But wow, who would have really... I mean, obviously, some people predicted it. I totally missed that. I honestly thought that he had them to some degree. I thought somebody else would be coming into it to help them out, or it would take longer for them to figure out what was going on. But it all happened over the course of like 2 episodes, really, 2 or 3 episodes. So I apologise to all those people who I thought were wrong, because they were obviously quite right. But it was nice seeing the girls back together again, and obviously standing beside each other and supporting each other. And they've each got their strengths. Arya is obviously strong, an incredible fighter now, an incredible spy, maybe. So she's got those elements to her. And Sansa has obviously been but picked up stuff from Littlefinger and Cersei along the way, that has made her the Lady of Winterfell and able to play the Game of Thrones a little bit. I'm still not convinced that she would have been able to connive around Littlefinger. I honestly don't think that would have been possible, but she managed it somehow. Littlefinger's dead. Fantastic. I loved the scene. I loved it, but again, I'm having trouble buying how they got to that end result. Sam arrives at Winterfell and goes to visit Bran in his bedroom, and they have that discussion. And Bran doesn't know something. It's a bit of a shocker. Sam has to tell him, well, no, actually, Rhaegar Targaryen had his marriage annulled, and he went to Dorne and married Lyanna Stark. And Bran's like, really? I don't know that. And then the next second is bang, and he's watching the scene where Rhaegar and Lyanna marry and are obviously very much in love. So only then does Bran realise that Jon is actually a full Targaryen and the heir to the throne. I mean, we were wondering whether Sam would actually remember that Gilly had told him about the fact that Rhaegar's marriage had been annulled. He really, in the scene where we saw that, she just dumped that information and he just rode right over her. So everyone was obviously thinking, well, he won't remember that. How the hell is he going to remember that when he's not listening to a word she's saying? So it was nice to see a final, definite 100% proof now that Jon is Rhaegar Targaryen's son. He is a full Targaryen because Rhaegar married Lyanna Stark, and he is the heir to the throne. Now everyone knows that. It's pinned down, it's now down, there's no more conspiracy theories to be had. He is that. So now we have to move on. So sailing to White Harbour, Jon, Tyrion and Dany all on their ship. Dany's flagship, and Jon decides to have a visit with Dany, should we say, to go over some, things that he needs to have out with her. And she obviously is quite happy to do so. So the scene, again, that a lot of people have been waiting for this season, and most of the last couple of seasons, to be honest, Dany and Jon together, has finally happened. Even though we now know they are aunt and nephew. But they are Targaryens, so Dany probably won't have a problem with going to bed with her nephew. The problem will probably come from Jon's side, if anywhere, because he's been brought up as a Stark, and incest in Westeros is not condoned at all. So how he reacts to this is going to be interesting. Obviously, the discussion of, well, he is heir to the throne over Dany, and yet Dany is fighting this war to get the throne, now becomes quite interesting. If they marry, then it's irrelevant. They'll both be on the throne. But if they don't, if this finding out that they are related drives a wedge between them, I don't know how that would fall out. I mean, would they part ways? But they can't, because Jon needs Dany to help him fight the White Walkers. So he can't risk losing her support. So, but then she wouldn't really, she knows what's coming, so she wants to fight them anyway because they killed one of her dragons. So you wouldn't lose her support. I don't know. It's just going to get very interesting when that discussion is had between them. Back in King's Landing, Jaime is obviously talking to his generals, arranging for the army to move north. Cersei arrives and says, well, you don't actually have to worry about that, because I'm actually not going to live up to my end of that deal that I made with them. Everyone is staying here. My army is staying here. I'm going to basically secure King's Landing and the south here, and I'm going to let those two, Jon Snow, Daenerys, and the Night King, I'm just going to let them fight it out up there, and then that's great. I'll deal with whoever's left. But Jaime, I'm sorry, mate, you're not going north with the army. And Jaime's like, but I made a deal. I promised them. I made an oath to go and help them. And she's like, well, I don't care. You're my general. You do what I say. Plus the fact I've got the Golden Company coming over. And Jaime's like, well, you didn't tell me about any of this. And then she accuses him of treason. The same. It's getting a bit annoying to a little bit. I mean, you have Dany, who's constantly on at Tyrion about, oh, you're just trying to protect your family. That's why we keep failing, which is totally untrue. And then you get Cersei, who's constantly on Jaime's back about the fact, oh, you betrayed my family, you met with an enemy. And all the time he was just trying to help her out. So it's like these two powerful women are attacking the two Lannister men in their camps for no real reason, because they're totally wrong. And both of the Lannister guys are trying to help them. And it's like they're driving them further away. And in this case, obviously, Jaime says, well, are you going to kill me? And this was a bit of a confusing scene, because you see the Mountain stand behind Jaime, and Jaime looks at him and says to Cersei, well, are you going to kill me? Are you going to give the order? And Cersei nods. The Mountain draws his sword, and then nothing happens. So what did the nod mean? Yes, kill him? It was a bit of an odd situation, a very weird scene, because then Jaime just says, I don't believe it. I don't believe you, and then just walks off, and nothing happens. The Mountain doesn't try and stop him. Cersei doesn't shout for him to come back or anything. He just leaves, and you see him riding north as it starts to snow in King's Landing. So, again, we finally get Jaime going north, which is what I've been wanting for ages. It took a lot longer than I thought it was going to do, but he is finally riding north, and I hope him and Brienne get together. I'm really shipping those two. I think they would be perfect together. I honestly do. I mean, they obviously work well together. She has a great effect on him. She obviously loves him, I think. The looks that she gives him, and when he does something stupid, the pain in her eyes, that she feels betrayed maybe, or let down. So there's obviously deep emotional ties between them. So I really hope when he gets north that those two will get together. They haven't got a lot of time. They've only got 6 episodes now. Season 8, the final season of Game of Thrones, which we've got to wait 2 years for. I can't believe that. There's no real reason they need to wait 2 bloody years to give us 6 episodes when they've been able to give us 10 episodes every year for the last 6 or 7 years. It doesn't seem to make any sense to me. So that's bloody pissing me off. It really is. Anyway, so Jaime has left Cersei at last and is heading north, which opens up loads of realms of possibility. Will he come back at some point and kill her? What's going to happen to him when he gets to the north? Will he be accepted into Dany's company? Another question, which I heard somebody bring up on a review show, which I honestly hadn't thought of it, but it's an incredible idea. What if Arya takes Littlefinger's face to use? That's an interesting thought. I mean, Littlefinger has fingers, if you'll forgive the pun, in lots of pies. If Arya takes his face, she might be able to get close enough to Cersei to kill her, or at least to do some damage. I mean, obviously the prophecy is that Cersei will die at the hands of the Valonqar, which is supposed to be her younger sibling. So it's either going to be Jaime or Tyrion. And so far that this prophecy has come true. Her kids have all died. So we can only assume that the prophecy will play out, and either Tyrion or Jaime will kill Cersei. But it's an interesting idea that if she does take his face, what sort of damage could Arya do with that? But then obviously the show ends with, back at Eastwatch, Beric and Tormund up on the ramparts looking out as the army of the dead finally, after years of walking, finally arrive and stop. And then the undead Viserion, with the Night King on his back, flies in and starts breathing blue fire against the wall and brings it down. Now this leaves a lot of unanswered questions. Do Tormund and Beric survive? Considering the amount of wall that actually falls, I can't honestly see how the hell they survive that. I really can't. But the second and most interesting question, earlier on in another, I can't remember, I don't think it was last season, I think it was season 5, but whichever one it was, Benjen Stark was helping Bran and Mira and Jojen and Hodor get north of the wall. I think, no, last season he helped them, he helped Mira and Bran get to Castle Black. But he told them he couldn't get any closer than where he dropped them off because of the magic of the wall prevents the undead getting too close. That was actually said. He said that on the screen. Okay, so that's canon. Now, if he can't get any closer than where he dropped them off, and he was still way in the trees when he dropped them off. You could see the wall, but he was in the forest. How did the army of the undead get so close to the wall? And how did the undead dragon and the Night King get literally point blank with the wall to fire into it? Where was the magic? It's not. Everyone has been theorizing, well, when Bran saw the Night King and the Night King grabbed Bran's wrist and marked him, that destroyed the magic of the wall. Why would it have destroyed the magic of the wall? It's not explained at all, and the idea that the undead shouldn't be able to get close to the wall because of the magic of it is totally ignored in this episode. But it's not explained. And to have to wait 2 years, God knows if it'll ever be explained now in the new season when we get to season 8. But again, visually, it was incredible watching that dragon take out the wall, watching it fall. It was just phenomenal, absolutely incredible. It really was. Everyone was wondering when the wall was going to come down. Nearly everyone was theorizing it was going to be the end of this season, and we were right. There is now nothing stopping the army of the dead from marching on Winterfell. That's Castle. Eastwatch is down. Castle Black is miles away. They're not going to be able to help. And the army of the undead is just pouring through that hole, and they're probably heading straight for Winterfell. So I don't know how this is all going to go. It's going to be they're not going to have a lot of time. The guys at Winterfell, Jon, Dany, or whatever, aren't going to have a lot of time to gather their army together. And when they find out that Cersei isn't going to bring her army north, what are they going to do? They're totally outnumbered. So it's God. This is the problem. I want to know what's going to happen next, and we've got to wait 2 fucking years before we actually find out. So it's going to be an incredible opening episode to season 8 when it finally does roll around. Whew. But for this episode, I've got to give this one a rating of a solid 9 out of 10 dragons. So yeah, 9 out of 10. Like I say, almost a perfect episode, almost a 10 out of 10. Certainly the best episode this season so far. And it was the finale, so they never normally let us down on the finale, and they haven't done this time. So although I haven't liked season 7, although to my mind, despite the great visuals they have given us, I feel it has been significantly lacking in characterization and drama, and just writing has been terrible. So this is the worst season for me in that respect, but it has given us some amazing visuals to watch on screen. I can't wait for season 8. I really, really can't. It's going to kill me to have to wait 2 years to see it. But here's hoping they actually realise the problems they had with this season and take the next 2 years to fix them, to give us great visuals and great storytelling at the same time with great characterizations. So I'm fingers crossed for season 8 will be the best, and obviously it's the last, but the best season ever. Until next time, you guys take care. Thank you very much for watching this review. If you've enjoyed it, please subscribe to my YouTube page or share this on your Facebook. But until next time, you guys take it easy. I'll see you then. Bye for now.